Good morning, wonderful people. Welcome to iLit Lesson D2.35. Today we will focus on Latin roots, analyzing a descriptive setting, and then applying what you have learned. Let's get started. So when we look at words, sometimes we can break words down by their roots or affixes. In this case, we're going to be looking at Latin roots. Here we see the words unimaginable, content, facility, introduction, construction. Notice
Image
the words
means
unimaginable.
Well,
Fact
here we see
means to do or
imagine,
make. Duck
meaning
means
like,
to lead
or likeness.
and con
So
means with or
unimaginable.
thoroughly.
Well, un means not, so not able to put into a likeness or not able to even conceive of it, really. Facility, if we are to do or make something, well, a facility is usually a building where they make something or do something. An introduction, well, for introducing something, or the duction is to lead, so it's bringing us into the leading part of something. Okay. Then we see content or construct. I know content is like with something, so if we're talking about the content of a program or the content of a book, it's what's in it. And construction, well, you're putting something together, it's going with something. Oh, those make sense. Let's examine each sentence for the Latin roots or affixes. Marie will introduce the new student to the rest of the class. She's leading the introducing part, or she's leading the new information about the student. The blurry image in the photo is difficult to identify, but Mom thinks it's a contemporary of hers from high school. Here we see two words. We have image, so a likeness or a photo in this case, and then we see the word contemporary. Contemporary, well, con is with, and temporary. Contemporary is actually like someone that you might have known in the past, usually a friend. After many weeks of practice, Jenna declared that the violin piece was facile to her performance. I had to look up the word facile. I have never seen it used at all. I even had to look up how to pronounce it. So I'm really glad I did, because I learned it means easily accomplished or attained. In this case, it was thoroughly easy. The plane will convey us to the convention in San Francisco, where we will meet other comic book fans. In this case, the plane will convey, so it will transport or go with us. And then we have convention, which is a place where people meet with each other, usually around a certain topic. In this case, comic books. That sounds great. I should go. Finally, the toy company is planning on manufacturing more of their most popular toy. In this instance, well, fact, which means to make, they are going to be making the most popular toy. Here we see a picture. When I look at this picture, I notice some things. I see a lot of people, I see a lot of street signs. In the background, I see a lot of billboards. It looks like there's many advertisements. It just kind of seems like a busy, bustling place. My guess would be maybe someplace like New York. Now, when we look at a photo, writers might decide to use something like this to visualize the setting for themselves so that they can put it into words for their readers. They might ask themselves, what type of setting is this? Well, I kind of decided it was a busy city setting. What kind of sounds do you hear? I might expect to hear like traffic or cars honking. I might expect to hear people like yelling out to be like, oh, come see this or come look at this. If they want you to buy something, you might hear a lot of people talking. You might hear people on their cell phones. I'm going to expect maybe a little bit more noise in this type of setting. As a writer, I might describe the type of people that I see or the vendors that are selling things. The most interesting one is maybe, what do you think people in the setting smell or feel? Maybe they feel other people jostling them, like as they're going by, they're accidentally hitting shoulders. It's maybe a little compact. Smell, maybe there's some food stands and they can smell the food. The aroma of hot dogs. I'm just thinking of hot dogs in this type of New York setting. So, how would the author or you go about describing this type of picture? Here we're going to be reading a setting that an author is working on developing. Now, a setting is really important because it can help readers put themselves in the picture as they read. Vivid sensory details about the setting can help readers visualize the scene. These details may appeal to any or all of the five senses. So we're thinking about sight, hearing, smell, touch, and taste. The game had already started when I arrived. Blinking in the late afternoon sunlight, I emerged from the tunnel that led to the bleachers. The stadium was crammed with fans. The bleachers were a blur of red and blue, the home team colors proudly displayed on t-shirts and jackets. The smell of popcorn, hot dogs, and roasted peanuts mingled in the air and made my mouth water. It was a perfect day for a baseball game. From the green field below, I heard a loud crack. For a moment, there was perfect silence as the ball flew from the player's bat in a high arc. Suddenly, I could no longer see the field as everyone around me stood up. A deafening wave of cheers rolled over the stadium. The floor vibrated beneath the soles of my gym shoes with the stomping of 50,000 feet. The noise resolved itself into a chant. Home run! Home run! Things that help us see what's happening, or the sight, would be blinking in the late afternoon sunlight. The stadium was crammed with fans, a blur of red and blue, the home team colors, the green field. The ball flew from the player's bat in a high arc. Suddenly, I could no longer see the field as everyone stood up around me. For sounds, we hear a loud crack, the perfect silence, like when everyone is just holding their breath. The deafening wave of cheers, the stomping of 50,000 feet, and a chant, home run, home run. For touch, my mouth watered, the floor vibrated. Smell, oh, the smell of the popcorn, hot dogs, and roasted peanuts. Adding in all of these senses really helps make it come alive for the reader. Let's go through and practice describing a setting. In this case, an ice cream store. In particular, I am thinking about Sebastian Joe's ice cream. I don't know if you've ever been there, but I'm going to try to describe it to the best of my ability. When I walk into Sebastian Joe's, I see a wall full of mini paper-sized chalkboards with all of the ice cream flavors written on them. The setting reminds me of a local coffee shop, but for ice cream. It sounds like conversation, a low rumble of noise, oftentimes with many people discussing their favorite flavor or how they would combine flavors together. It smells like sugar, maybe even some cream in there, and fresh made waffle cones. Okay, my mouth is watering right now just thinking about like the waffle cone and how it comes off the press and they curl it and then they add the ice cream to it and okay. Mouth is watering. It tastes like some of my favorite flavors put together, like coffee and chocolate with caramel and coconut and maybe even some peanuts on top. Oh, I hope I'm not making you too hungry for ice cream right now, because I am totally hungry for ice cream right now. It feels like a warm summer day, like where you've been out for a walk or bike riding or playing and you just need something cool, and then you get that ice cream in your mouth and it's just like cool refreshment and it's all worth it. I'm hoping you're able to visualize some of Sebastian Joe's feel and ambiance. If you have time today, you can look up images for Sebastian Joe's ice cream here in Minnesota. It is amazing. A well-developed setting helps readers A, get to know the narrator, B, follow the sequence of events, C, visualize where the story takes place, or D, understand the words the writer uses.
If you said C, visualize where the story takes place, you would be correct. Here we're going to read about a setting that is a simulated battlefield. Corgan is the main character and genetically engineered, only 14 years old, and he has been trained his whole life to fight in a virtual computer-controlled war. Let's look for sensory details that help us to create mental images of what Corgan is experiencing. The next day was War Day -6. It began with an explosion that shook Corgan to his toes, and Charla was right. The day was worse than the day before, which had been worse than the day before that. Added to the blood and gore were the soldiers' screams. Now, when they died horribly with their eyes wide open in shock and terror, their cries twisted Corgan's insides. "Focus! Focus!" Briggs shouted. "Block out everything extraneous!" We might feel the explosion that shook Corgan to his toes. We might see the blood and gore. We might hear the soldiers' screams. We might also see their eyes wide open in shock and terror and hear the cries that twisted Corgan's insides. Ooh, twisted Corgan's inside would be like that feel. And then we hear the shouting, probably of the commander. Again, these details help us to see or feel or experience what's going on around Corgan in his world. Another way to help the reader stay engaged in the writing or the reading process of your writing is to vary your sentence structure. Think about imperative, declarative, interrogative, or exclamatory sentences. Imperative is where you're giving orders, and declarative is where you're making a statement. Interrogative is you're asking a question, or exclamatory, you're exclaiming something, sometimes in surprise. Use different beginnings. Put prepositional phrases or dependent clauses first. Don't always start the sentence with I or my. That gets really boring really fast. Use connectors to show the relationship between ideas. Use your fanboys. So for, and, nor, but, or, yet so. Think about those words and put things together. And of course, use punctuation for effect. Use that exclamation point. Make sure you're asking questions. Use it in descriptive language. And please, please, punctuate. Put in periods so we know where your sentence ends. All right, you've got some work ahead of you. You've got this. Go on to iLit. Let's look at the homework quick. Today in assignments, you are going to be developing a setting and doing a spelling study plan. Of course, do your reading of 20 to 30 minutes. And I know today is Friday, so they are going to be asking you to do this in language arts too. This all counts together. Make sure to fill out your form. Thanks for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.